15 minutes moving away from the hour. Welcome back to the morning show. And it's now time for our program, Policing with You. In the studio with me this morning, we rotate the host is Inspector Alwick Edwards. I'm your moderator for this morning. I'm going to let him introduce his program and his guest. I think it's only right. And we get our conversation moving.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, GQ. Thank you. Good morning to those of you listening. I am Inspector Alwick Edwards and the host for today's program, Policing with You. GQ, this morning I have the privilege to introduce my guest, who is Mrs. Karima Byron Keynes, who is the director of the St. Kitts and Nevis National Council on Drug Abuse Prevention. Mrs. Keynes, can you introduce yourself to the listening audience?
All right, thank you so much. First, let me thank GQ, our moderator, and yourself and the production team for giving me the opportunity to be here today to shed some light on the St. Kitts and Nevis National Council on Drug Abuse Prevention. As he rightfully said, I am the director of the council, and I think that's about it for now.
Thank you, Mrs. Byron Keynes. The St. Kitts and Nevis National Council on Drug Abuse Prevention's work is ongoing, especially within the schools and young people. However, not much is known about the council and what they are about. Drug abuse prevention is a very serious and important topic. This morning's program will take this normal format, introduction, where we just had question and answer segment, and then the closing. Mrs. Byron Keynes, can you give us an overview of the work of the Drug Abuse Prevention Council?
Sure, most certainly. I will give you a history, how we function and all that good stuff. Okay, so the National Council on Drug Abuse Prevention, it was established into law in 2002 in the Drug Act. And it was established to fulfill a number of functions, a lot of functions, too many. To list out at this time. But in a nutshell, we look at policies, programs, any type of intervention that is necessary to deal with drug, whether it's licit or illicit in the Federation. Our core focus, of course, is demand reduction, where we're looking at drug prevention, treatment, things along that line. But we also work with other agencies to see how we can best centralize and coordinate. So based on the function, we came up with a mission statement, which is to centralize the coordination of drug prevention, rehabilitation, and other incidental matters related to drug misuse, abuse in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. So how it operates, it's good to get an understanding of the structure. So we fall under the Ministry of National Security, and then according to law, there is a council which acts as our advisory body, comprising of, a chairman, Dr. Milton Whitaker, our very active, involved, and supportive vice chairman, Mr. Michael Morton. And then we have a number of persons from different ministries and departments within the government. So we have representative from Education, the Chief Education Officer, Mr. B. Isaac, Michelle Blake representing Social Services, Youth Department, Health Nevis, and quite a few others, including the police, which is represented by Superintendent Travis Rogers.
Okay.
So we have a number of persons in key places coming together, assessing the situation and advising, right? And then now we have the secretariat, where I am the director, that carries out the day-to-day activities of the council. So that's just it in a synopsis. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, thank you, Mrs. Keynes. What services do you all offer?
Okay, so outside of, because we do a lot, as I said, there's a lot of functions. So outside of our international obligations, because as a federation, we are tied on to agencies like the Organization of American States, and they have an Inter-Drug Abuse Control Commission. So there are some evaluations that we do, some mapping instrument. We share best practices among different members of the hemisphere. So outside of international obligations, similar to that one of our day-to-day activities that we focus on are, well, we have about 3 of them, which is drug education, because I assume you mean what we offer to the public,
the
right?
public,
There are a lot of administrative work outside of that, but to the public, we offer drug education presentations. So if there is an institution, an agency, group, church, you name it, they figure, it's time that we have someone come in and share with our youth or vulnerable population or other groups about drugs, its effects on your mind and your body.
But not just someone, a reliable source.
A reliable source, a contact person who will coordinate, whether if it's a church, the pastor, his representative, if it's an organization, the manager, director, or, their representative. So we offer drug education. We do drug prevention. So that will entail designing and developing a drug program specific to that agency. We help with the implementation and we help with the facilitation of the sessions. Because drug prevention is not, you're going one day and you're finished. We try to incorporate life skills along with the drug education, the number of life skills that we find is necessary to prevent our young people from getting involved in substances, things like coping and communication and assertiveness. These have to be incorporated into the drug program as well. And then we offer drug treatment services as well. So oftentimes we would get different institutions calling, saying, there's a need, we're seeing an increase in drug misuse and abuse among our population. Can you offer a service? And so currently we have 2 programs. A cannabis youth treatment program that we carry out is a treatment program, and we also carry out a stages of change substance abuse treatment program. So these are evidence-based stuff that we try to use. We're not just ad hocly coming up with stuff, but we see, okay, this has been successful. Let's see how we can use it and tweak it in our society to offer that service to the population. When needed, if there are individual sessions on team, we don't necessarily have someone assigned to that, but we have a number of volunteers and partners that we can call on and refer services to that individual or agency.
Yeah, thank you. That was very lengthy and thorough. Does that mean that individuals and organizations and maybe even businesses can access your services? I think you just said that.
Yes, definitely, certainly. Persons can reach out to us. Now, there's a procedure to get that done. We often encourage persons to call our office during office working hours, 8 to 4, Mondays to Friday. And there is a form that we normally fill out to indicate which service you want. We ask the individuals to identify the key problems that you face, because sometimes we try to target the program, the education, to that particular problem. And then we will assess and assign accordingly to carry out that service.
Yeah, thank you again, Mrs. Keynes. What are the challenges faced by the council?
Every individual, every institution, wherever you go, there are challenges that we must face, but we must learn to pivot around those challenges, right? So you hear that we do quite a bit. A lot of functions are listed, but our secretariat is a very small staff. We're known in the region as the Tiny Drug Council. It's myself as the director. We have 1 full-time engaged drug prevention officer and then administrative staff. So how do we do it? Very limited staff, high demand. So that in itself is a challenge. So we had to learn to pivot around that challenge and utilize other resources and, tweak it accordingly in order to get our goals accomplished. We're also dealing with drugs. And I'm sure that in the force, you're aware that these drug dealers, they're very innovative, right? Recently, I'm a part of a group chat with other Caribbean directors across the region. And our Bahamas counterpart would have shared a news clipping with us where they confiscated edibles. But these edibles are not the one that we're used to, like the brownies and the sugar cake. They're now concealing them in the everyday snacks that our children use, Cheetos and the Skittles and the Lay's. I'm not sure how they're doing, if they're creating their own paper and then refilling it and then sealing it back. But that's something that we need to be vigilant about, right? So when we think we have a handle, okay, make sure that you're not really allowing brownies onto the school, or, here you have now these people developing edibles, which is like a snack of food or drink laced with either marijuana or some other drugs. And we have them using these. So it's like, how do we walk around this now, right? And so, of course, we would have informed the police and education to be vigilant about this for now until we get more information about this. So we have the limited staff, and then we have these innovative drug dealers that we're trying, you know, to walk around. So those are some of the challenges that we face at the council.
You know what? I always question myself. I realize that in our small society, it's only when a person is incarcerated he's basically in a rehabilitation center. Is there any
Rehabilitation center here?
yeah.
Unfortunately, not at this time. There is funding that is needed. It's something that we have been looking into, and we hope that St. Kitts could have their own drug rehabilitation center
We need one.
at some point, you know, sooner than later, because even with the change in the legal reform that we're seeing, it seems like people think it's a free-for-all, and, you know, and we're seeing a lot of challenges with our young people as a result of that. So it would be good in the near future to have some drug rehabilitation center, and a lot of the time we rely on either Antigua or St. Lucia. When the need really arises and, you know, persons need it, we have to send them overseas. But it's something that we have been considering and hope to see in the near future.
Yeah, I hope to see that too, because I realize only when persons are incarcerated is when they, well, in a center, they cannot use it, so they are really, you know, in a facility that will make them withdraw from the drug that they so they're addicted to. But I'm hoping to see that in the near future for real.
Right.
So GQ, let us now break at this juncture for our words from our sponsors, and upon our return, we'll open the lines for calling from the general public. Thank you.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more. Shop online at the most popular websites and stores for quality brands using your national debit or black cards. And take back your time to enjoy all the things that you love to do. Remember, instead of waiting in long ATM lines to withdraw cash, use your National Bank cards today.
National Bank, always here.
Tell me what you think about Marcus. Tell me what you think about Christ. Made their sacrifice now.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back. 28 minutes moving away from the hour. Before we open the lines, let's get back into our conversation. And of course, the number to call will be 465-2555. That's 2555. And for those of you overseas, in the United States area in particular, and Canada, exchange number for you that it's like a local call from your end is 718-577-2916. Inspector?
Yes, thank you, GQ. Mrs. Keynes, with your limited resources, include your small staff, how are you able to meet requests and carry out your mandate?
As I indicated, we have to learn to pivot around our challenges. And so what we do at the Drug Council, we do a lot of training. So, for example, myself and one of our volunteer prevention specialists would have received training in Bahamas on the planning, how you plan an actual program, whether it's a prevention or treatment. So, you know, I'm not the type where you go training and you take it for yourself. So when we returned last year, we carried out a training with a number of our frontline counselors and guidance counselors. We even had an assistant permanent secretary, persons from education, nursing, police, I think was there as well. Learning how to utilize that tool to develop programs. So whereas normally you would have call on us to help and develop these programs, we have trained, I want to say it's about 20 individuals to prepare that program, to design it, do the assessments, to decide which services will be feasible for that particular population. So now that lessens our weight. They would call on us from time to time to say, okay, we need advice on this, or we need support in this area, but then the bulk of it, it's not rested in our lap. So we do trainings in different areas where we equip the other frontline workers to do the same thing that we're doing.
Thank you. In addition to the training, this group of counselors, the council held another type of training session recently. Tell us about that.
Yes, it was as recent as last week, Monday, I think, if I'm not mistaken. We trained 19 counselors, child protection and probation officers in a cannabis youth treatment, utilizing what we call motivational enhancement therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy. So we've been getting a lot of calls from high schools, the guidance counselors, principals, overwhelmed with the number of children coming to school high. Teachers going into the classroom, they too feel like because of the smell of the smoke in the room, like they're getting high because of what, they're smelling in the classroom. And so we realized that needed to be addressed as quickly as possible. Fortunately enough, we were able to send one of our treatment specialists, Miss Sarah Jacobs, to Mexico, where she did a training in cannabis youth treatment. And so we pulled our guidance counselors and those other officers I mentioned together, and we trained them. We gave them the manual. This is how you run. It's like a 5-session training, as I said, utilizing those two types of treatment modalities with adolescents. So it was very successful. The counselors and the officers from Child Protection and Probation Services, it was a very engaging training where you were hearing firsthand what they deal with, in the classroom and that type of stuff, and we were able to problem solve certain situations together. Again, it goes back to how we manage, we train, we equip, give them the manual, the tools, and then offer the support as needed. So that was one of the more recent trainings we did.
Thank you. Are there other projects or activities that are currently working on or have coming up in the near future?
Yes. So that training that I just spoke to you about, we did it in St. Kitts. So we're going over the waters now, and we're going to train the same group of individuals. I'm in contact with the Principal Education Officer there, Mr. Nella Claxton, and the Director of Social Services, Ms. Sandra Maynard, and we're getting a group of persons from Nevis to be trained in that as well. We are currently in the prison running what you call a stage of change substance abuse treatment program with some of the inmates who are about to be released. And we are finalizing a manual because we're going to go into the primary school as well. So we're finalizing a drug prevention manual reaching the children from the primary school level.
Primary school. You spoke about primary school. This question is in relation to primary school. I'll start. I particularly want to talk more about substance abuse and young people. I'm tempted to ask you why we would need to roll out a substance abuse intervention program in primary schools so that you can give our callers insight into what is happening at that level.
I'm smiling, but it's a serious situation.
Very serious
One of the ways I hope I smile through it, right? The reality is that, well, when I first joined the National Council on Drug Abuse Prevention, I would have looked through research papers, and there was a school secondary drug prevalence survey that they carried out. And one of the alarming things that I read in the report is that a lot of children or young people in the St. Kitts and Nevis start dabbling with substances at the age of 9. So we're looking at our grade 4 students getting involved with substances. And so a prevention program, as the name implies, is to prevent, delay, or reduce substance use. And so we thought that it was imperative to nip it in the bud early, right? So we're trying to get them at least by grade 4, grade 3, reach out to that population to begin educating them, to begin implementing life skills, so that we won't see our children abusing, misusing substances. Because when they use these substances, what happens is that what we're seeing is that their school performance, their academic performances, that decreases. They begin to exhibit behavioral challenges, amongst another host of, psychosocial, biological challenges you see when you begin using substances, especially at such an early age, before the brain is fully developed, before you could learn to self-regulate without drugs, and things like that. So it was very important because of our reality to try and get in as quickly as possible.
Yes, thank you. Does substance include alcohol?
A substance is any mind-altering substance. So alcohol, marijuana, cocaine, even drugs you receive from the pharmacies. Once it alters your mind in any way, it's considered a substance.
Yes. Any callers? Okay.
Well, we can open the lines now, 465-2555 and 718-577-2916. Let's take our first call for this morning. You are live and lively.
Yeah, good morning, GQ.
Good morning.
Good morning to the good lady there.
Good morning, good morning.
Great job.
Thank you.
I have 3 questions to ask the lady. First, I must tell her that the United Nations removed the stigma of marijuana as a drug. They passed that early in January, and they support it. So that removed. But I want to ask her, what in place for all these schools to avoid the drug prevention? Because it's big time. And when you're seeing, as you rightly say, is young people and a nest is gathering down there in Port Zante every Friday night, drinking and smoking young schoolboys. And it's dangerous. And next thing I want to draw to her, it's not marijuana alone, The whole ball game changed. Now you got users, big ones, will be putting in a lot of other things in the marijuana. It ain't like my time when you're growing up, you just smoke marijuana. You got to set, and where I gathering, a lot coming into this free movement thing. They don't mash up, and they're coming in here and driving the marijuana and cocaine, and it's big time. It's big time in the Spanish community, and we will fight against that, Me get down here will fight against that. A lot in high places pussyfooting with it, because they don't come in and do what, They're in our face. And this ain't just 6 years ago, This happening long time since the Batman was there. You understand? And everybody keeping a blind eye to these things. Lady, I want to ask you if you could come out one this Friday night and come down Port Zante and let me and you take a walk around the bar down there. You will surprise to see what you see. We young potential girls is drinking alcohol hard. And it's a concern. Always have a good day.
Thank you, Jamdong, for your contribution.
Before we continue, would you like to respond to?
Sure. Jamdam, I hear your passion and your concern, especially for our young people, and I thank you for your input this morning. We spoke about marijuana. We know that there was some legal reform, but truth is marijuana is still a drug, whether it's legal reform or not. A drug is anything that alters your mind, and marijuana falls in that category. How we deal with it, it's a different situation with regards to the law, right? But marijuana is considered a drug, right? You also asked about what is going on in our schools. So as I shared earlier, maybe I can rewind a little bit. I'm not sure that I brought up this one, but a couple years ago, we underwent a very intense training with a number of our frontline workers again. And the OAS, through SICAD, along with government assistance, carried out a certification and training program in drug prevention and a separate one in drug treatment. And these individuals were certified by the University of the West Indies, Mona campus, right? And so we have equipped a lot of our guidance school counselors in prevention and treatment. So we have someone assigned in this school at some level who could carry out these type of services to the children as well. As I shared recently, we did an adolescent cannabis youth treatment program, and then we go in from time to time to support the school system with drug prevention, treatment, and education. And I'm glad that you highlighted the one about mixing drugs with marijuana and that type of stuff, because we are seeing quite a bit of that. I know in layman's term we call it the spranger, where you find persons are mixing marijuana with cocaine and sometimes having to reach to mental facility because of a mental breakdown. So these are some real concerns. And even outside of marijuana, just so that the public is aware, parents and guardians are aware, there is this other thing that seems to be picking up in our schools. They call it lean, and it's not even like marijuana and cocaine. It comes out of a song from a popular pop artist. Can't remember his name at this time, but is where we find our young people are now experimenting with Sprite and cough medicine, and then some sort form of candy.
Lean as in L-E-A-N?
L-E-A-N. And so, you know, parents, when your children are taking up the cough medicine, or pharmacists, when you see them coming and buying the bulks of Histotussin or other types of cough medicine, be vigilant and mindful, you know, keep a clean eye. Because we have our children, the internet is always readily available to teach them how to make up some sort of concoction. And so we're beginning to see this in our schools, and we just want people to be vigilant.
On that note, we have another call. Hi, good morning. You're live.
Good morning, GQ.
Hey, morning.
And good morning to Inspector Eric there.
Good morning, sir.
And to the lady there from the Drug Council.
Good morning.
Now, the lady. Now, listen to Jam Down Park, right? And there's so much young people, young men and women are presented as be drinking. What about the parents? You understand? They don't go in the house and smell of marijuana or smell of alcohol and the people, because they're going to school still. Anyway, it's a pity that your groups are small, that you can't reach out to everyone. But I hope you improve, because let me tell you something, we got to help take care of our young people. Because them are the future generation of tomorrow. And we can't afford to allow our young people getting alcohol and drugs. And you know how life goes? The situation will be better. I mean, will be worse. Our security done time so high in this country. Our security, like in Parliament, they took a table again to get these young men and young women from using drugs, mash up their mind, mash up the mentality when they can't work, they can't function, and all those things. So I just want to group your organization to get a little. I hope the government invest into it and private sector invest into this thing, because it's something good you are doing, and I want to commend you and your group. All right then.
Thank you so much, Carlo. I hear your concerns, and some of our prevention programs and treatment, we try to involve parents. Sometimes that is a challenge, but we do make effort to at least educate parents as well. And thank you so much for your input.
You want to ask question? We have two more calls.
Yeah, take callers.
Hi, good morning. You live. Hey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, and good morning, Officer Elric.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, and good morning, Officer Miss Lady there. I don't know your name. But good
Karima
program.
Byron, please.
Now, let me get down to something serious. You know what I noticed? A lot of these young boys, from the moment they step up and they say they go in high school, you could see signs of rebellion in them. Number one, the pants waist become bigger. The pants drop down below the bum. And you can't tell them nothing. And next thing again, sometimes the company that they keep, you know that they are smoking illicit business. And my question is this: what are you all doing to detect such behavior in the classroom, and not just once a week or once a month, regular, That's one question. And how is it these cocaine and all these lean and all kind of thing, what they're using? How are they getting in our country? What is being done to prevent them from coming in our country? And when I say what is being done, I mean something real drastic and constant. Pursue it like the tick on the clock. Because if the drugs are not around, we wouldn't have any need for any rehabilitation with drug users. And like what Jamdong said, the parents cannot go with these children when they're going to do the thing. Because they're not going to let their parents know that they're heading for there. And they will not react in the corner when they get home. As drunk as they may be, as high as they may be with the drugs, when they get home, they put on a behavior mood. They get in the behavior mood and they go in the house like a saint and a queen. But they full up with it. But you have to be on the spot to catch them. Because when a thief comes, a thief here and let the police see him. Anyway, you all have a good program. Have a good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any responses?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for your call. So how do you detect? So there are certain signs that we train. I've done some with the education, the training, teachers training, and a few others. There are certain things they look for, and the lip, the fingers, the eyes. You know, we look for these kind of things. And it's not just one you're looking for. You will hope to see a number of different signs that we hope that they're looking into. And then with the edibles, I think he was asking how the lean comes in. Now, as I mentioned, the lean is something that it's everyday things that we're using, and the internet is always readily available to explain how to make these concoctions. But outside of the drug prevention stuff, we also have things like the new psychoactive substances, right? I didn't touch much on that side today, but we have done trainings with police and the customs on how to identify what you call new psychoactive substances. So when they come to the airport or the seaports, our officers, they are able to identify and hopefully not allow them into, you know, but people are so crafty and
like you rightfully said. I mean, and we're not the... Bless you.
Excuse me, thank you.
We're not the only country that is faced with that, you know. Almost every country in the world is faced with that adversity, if I can put it that way. But something crossed my mind there when the questions was coming in as it relates to the school, and you keep mentioning support. But is that support just educating, or is it from another angle as well?
As in drug counsel to the schools?
Yeah.
Right, so it's apart from educating, we help to develop what you call the life skills in our children, which seems to help children delay or focus on, you know, more positive ways of life.
Right.
So if you're referring to like sponsorship, at this time we're not in a position to give funding and monies and that type of stuff. There are other angles that we can try to support, in, you know, for the program development, but outside of education, treatment is a little bit more than education, and the prevention we offer is a little bit more than just educating.
Yes.
We're trying to tap into what their goals are and to somewhat guide and motivate them to move along in a different, more positive direction.
In a old saying I've heard when I was growing up, teach a man how to fish. That kind of principle you're more or less targeting right now.
Right.
All right, let's go back to the phone lines. We're going to be cutting over pretty soon to go to our National Assembly.
Right.
We lost that caller. Well, we don't have any calls at the moment, but I know you have some questions as well.
Well, I don't have any more.
We have some more calls coming in.
Well, take the last call and then we will wrap up because we have Parliament.
Yes. Okay.
Morning, so.
Good morning, you live.
Yeah, GQ.
Yes, ma'am.
Michelle, you know what I like to see? I would like to see national security give you a lot more support and police work alongside with you. With these CARICOM citizens coming into St. who is abuser, a hard job, and when they get caught or they go to school and they get caught, they don't just come back in the society, send them home. That is where we want to in place in St. Because it's terrible, you know. I ain't moving around this little tongue, you know. This country have laws, and we know we used to go and heal. And people keeping blind eye to these things, you know, and they're going to hear jam down, you know, born here. Have a good day.
All right, jump.
Thank you.
All right, jump down.
Thank you again, Jam Down, and you could be an advocate for us. You know, we really would like to have more workers on board with us. It came from just myself and one secretary, and now we're up to 5 of us on team. But with the specialty in prevention and treatment, we really do need more workers. And you mentioned the police working alongside us. We were fortunate enough to train, I think it's 4 of our police officers, 2 in treatment, 2 in prevention, and they have been supportive. Superintendent Travis Rogers, for instance, he is also a member of the council, and he's one of our treatment specialists. And once we call on him and he is available, he assists us in whatever way we need. We have Shauna Edwards. I can't remember your titles at the moment. Inspector Shauna Edwards as well, one of our treatment specialists. She too is very supportive. Then we have Pemberton, and another one whose name is missing me at this moment. But we try to work very close with the police. They are very, once we call on them, they assist us as needed.
Final question from me, and then I'll let you guys wrap up. And thanks to everyone who called in. And those of you who are trying to get in, we do apologize, but we're going to be breaking away pretty soon to get you the coverage this morning of National Assembly. More than one occasion, Jamdang called in this morning, and even before your presence, Mrs. Keynes.
Correct.
Yes. He has highlighted the use of drugs and abuse of alcohol down at Port Zanti on more than one occasion. What can you do, and what can you do, Inspector and Mrs. Keynes?
Well, the Special Services Unit, I am the second in charge of that unit. Travis Rogers, he's my boss. What we can do as a department, we can centralize our patrol around that area for the time, because events at Port Zanti doesn't last until the next day. It has a cut-off period. So what we can do is have a patrol around the area to prevent persons from using and challenge person who we think is underage from not using. Yeah,
It's tricky.
Yeah, it's tricky because some person are older than they look. Yeah, so it's tricky. It's a balancing.
Yeah, you might be surprised. Some of those youths that he might think is youths might be 22, 23.
Yeah. It's a tricky situation. But we can cause patrol to be around the area to prevent. And we are aware of the decriminalization of the marijuana. Suppose now are still not supposed to use marijuana in the public, but they still do. So what we have to do is educate persons that even though it is slowly being decriminalized, you still cannot use it, and you have to make yourself available or educate yourself as to how you can use the marijuana. And it's a process in the making. It's a very difficult process.
I just didn't want his contribution go on unnoticed.
I'm happy that you brought it back up too, because that's something that we will be looking at. I will bring up this issue at the council meeting. But I can say there are a number of things that are in place. One, we are not supposed to be selling alcohol to persons under the age of 18. So maybe there's some enforcement that needs to really pick up in that area. Maybe the bartenders may need retraining or educating. We're not supposed to sell alcohol to the underage children, right? So that's enforcement. Maybe we could get someone, quietly observe to see, like, who are these people really down there? And if we could tell them, oh, this person is at that school and that school, we could try to, just me off the top of my head, try to see if we can then utilize the guidance counselors to identify, those children and then offer the type of support that we do in the school, which is either treatment or prevention, depending on the level.
I get that. So instead of embarrassing them and then force them in another area where we can reach out to help them, come from a different angle, where you don't make them feel like, okay, you're being watched and you can actually help these children.
Right. So the thing is, it's not just about pushing it down the throat or lashing them across the back, because as I said, the lick's gonna cool off anyway. You know what I mean? So we try to make sure we have these steps, these treatment modalities in place to really try and transform their thinking, help them to set goals, help them to figure out, okay, what is this really doing to my mind and my body? And I know we're looking at time right now. So yes, it's something that we will definitely be looking into.
All right. Well, in closing,
Yeah, anything in closing? Mrs.
Just
Keynes?
thank you again for having me here this morning to shed light on the National Drug Council. I hope we can come back again, maybe in a different
need
capacity.
We need to come back because there's a lot more things that I would like to talk about. As I grew up in the village area and I have seen a lot, but I cannot say it. So continue closing.
Yes. So we hope to come back again and just to encourage the parents, the teachers, just be vigilant, be supportive. There is service, there's care out there. You can reach out to us. If we can't do it ourselves because of our limited staff, we will be able to refer or assign someone else. So our number at the office, I think it's important to put out in case person needs services, 467-1703. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Mrs. Keynes. Jiki, I want to thank you for being the reliable moderator that you are. Thank you, Mrs. Keynes, for being here. I know you're busy, very, very busy lady. I want to thank the management and staff of ZIZ for always having us here every Thursday. Mr. Jamdong, for your calling. I appreciate your calling and encourage you to call all the time. Let's call. All the person who other than Jamdong who have called, thank you for calling. Without your calling, this show is pointless. We need your contribution. Thank you all for listening and see you guys next week. And watching. See you guys next week.
All right.
Tell me what you know about hate that keeps us separated.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more. Shop online at the most popular websites and stores for quality brands using your national debit or black cards. And take back your time to enjoy all the things that you love to do. Remember,